Number 5, which of the following resolves the problem raised above? So we're going to read a discrepancy, something that doesn't seem like it makes sense, and we have to bring in some new information that's going to resolve it. So what's the discrepancy? It says that on the plains where it lives, an individual zebra stands out because it has these black and white stripes, which contrast with the surrounding vegetation. Yet, zebras are a prey species, and the lions that hunt them can see stripes clearly. So therefore, it seems surprising that zebras would survive with these vivid stripes, right? That seems like a discrepancy, right? Zebras have these stripes that make them stand out, and in fact, the lions that hunt them can see these stripes very easily. So you'd think the stripes would not allow them to survive because it allows the lions to see them, which are then going to come and hunt them. So we have to resolve the discrepancy and bring some new information that tells us that even though it seems like the stripes would be really bad for the zebras, we have to find some information that says, no, here's why the stripes are actually good for the zebras. Here's why they are able to survive. Even though you would think that the stripes make it harder for them to survive, here's why that's not the case, right? So generally it helps to phrase these as a why question, right? Why are things the way they are? Just so we can have a direction for what to look for in the answer choices. We want to answer the question, why are the stripes not killing the zebras? Why are the stripes not making it impossible for the zebras to survive because it makes them easier to see for the prey? Why is that not happening? Why are the zebras doing okay? That's a very simple way of wording the question. So let's look for an answer that says why, that tells us why the zebras are surviving in spite of their very easy to see stripes. Does A resolve the discrepancy? A says that because the vegetation on the open plains changes from green to brown when the season changes, true camouflage coloring for a prey species would have to change also according to the seasons, right? So according to A, it's even harder to camouflage because A says not only do you have to have a good camouflage, but you also need to change your camouflage throughout the seasons, which there's no evidence that zebras do this. So A is just giving us another reason why it might be more difficult for zebras to hide from their predators. So A doesn't resolve the discrepancy, right? A says that not only do they have to try to blend in some more, but they also have to change their camouflage throughout the seasons in order to hide from their predators. And there's no evidence that they're doing that, right? So A doesn't explain anything, right? We're looking for something to answer the question, here's why zebras are doing okay. A is telling you something that animals have to do in order to hide from their predators, in order to camouflage properly. And there's no evidence that zebras do that. So it's not answering the question of why zebras are surviving. B tells us that zebras are able to judge by looking at the demeanor of the lions that they see in their vicinity, whether or not those lions are getting ready to hunt. And of course, then they're going to ignore the lions that are not getting ready to hunt, right? They're only going to be trying to escape from the lions that are going to be hunting them. Makes perfect sense, but it doesn't answer the question. The question is, how are zebras able to survive? They have these stripes. They're readily visible to their predator, to these lions, right? How are they able to survive if the lions can see them so easily? Why do they have these stripes in the first place, right? So B doesn't answer that question because B just says, oh, you know, they're able to tell which lions are going to hunt them and which are not. Okay, but then the lions that do decide to hunt them, why aren't they totally annihilating them, right? Because they can clearly see the stripes. So B doesn't answer the question that we're trying to answer. C tells us that the lions that hunt these zebras are themselves colored in a way that blends in. They themselves are camouflaged so that in the dry season, when their prey is not as plentiful, the lions can creep up on their prey, and that gives them a better chance of succeeding in the hunt. So this is telling us why the lions are better off. This certainly is not answering the question because C tells us why the lions are actually really good at hunting their prey. So that doesn't explain why the zebras are surviving. If anything, that makes it more difficult for the zebras to survive. So this is kind of backwards. D tells us that when lions hunt, after they catch the animal, the whole pride shares in the food obtained when the prey is brought down by one of the hunting lions. So this tells you at the end of the story, once they catch the zebra or whatever they're catching, they share it with each other. Beautiful, really nice that they do that, but it doesn't answer the question. The question is, how are zebras able to survive being hunted by lions with these really clear and obvious stripes on them, right? So D just tells us, by the way, once the lions do catch whatever they catch, they split it among themselves. They don't just keep it to themselves, they split it with the entire pride. that does not answer the question of how zebras are able to survive. Telling us something that they do with the animals after they catch them has nothing to do with why zebras are able to avoid getting caught in the first place. E tells us that when zebras run in a group, as they generally do in response to danger, so perhaps when they're being hunted, right? Danger, when they're being hunted, let's say by lions, they run in a group. And when they do so, according to E, the stripe markings actually make it difficult for the predator pursuing the single zebra to discern its outline. So E tells you that the stripes actually make it harder in some way for the lions to catch an individual zebra. That's all we're looking for on this question. We're looking for something to tell us why the stripes actually are not as bad as we thought, right? And E answers that question. E tells us that the stripes, not only are they not necessarily a liability to the zebras, they actually help the zebras out, according to E. E tells us the stripes make it harder for the zebras to be caught. So it tells us why the zebras essentially are not dying out in spite of these stripes. In fact, the stripes are helping them, according to E. So that does resolve the problem. That does answer the question, right? The question was, how are zebras able to survive with these black and white, very clear to see stripes on them? E tells us, no, the stripes are helping them survive because it actually makes it more difficult for the lions to pursue a single individual when the zebras are running in a group, which they often do in response to danger. So E explains everything. E tells us that the stripes actually make it better in some way for the zebras to survive, which is exactly what we were looking for. So that is the correct answer. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit subscribe. And for thousands more clear LSAT explanation videos, go to masterlsat.com.